Greetings! Welcome to another episode of Porygondolier. Warm beverage at the ready? Excellent. Today, I want to have a bit of fun playing around with the enemy trainer parties in Pokemon Red. Let me show you what I mean. In amongst the many files that make up Pokemon Red is a data file named Parties. It's here that all of the opponent trainer parties are defined. And let me put your mind at ease here that this is not a technical video. In most cases, all of the party Pokemon are at the same level, and when we look at the data, that's what the first number here is for. After that, we have a list of the Pokemon in their team, and finally a 0 to indicate the end of the data. So of course, we can put whatever we want in here and make some really bizarre battles, and this is fun in its own way, but let's take it up a notch. In fact, let's take it up to level 101. This is my turf, get out of here! No need to be rude, mate. If you've ever played around with Missingno, there's a good chance you already know that the game more or less supports levels from 0 to 255. It's just that Pokemon are generally meant to be between levels 2 and 100. Because of this, the game runs without any issues at all, which is good to know for the future, but I was hoping to see some glitchy shenanigans today. So instead of that, how about we give our territorial birdkeeper friend 7 Pokemon? Now, this one surprised me a little. We can see here he only has 6 ball icons, but that doesn't necessarily mean it hasn't worked. And please ignore Raging Pidgey here. This ROM is basically vanilla red, but I may have used it for testing some sprites and whatnot in the past. As we reach the end of Pokemon 6, I find myself on the edge of my seat, in anticipation of his 7th Pokemon, Eevee. But in what I can only describe as the biggest disappointment of my life, Eevee never shows up. For a game so notoriously glitchy, I honestly feel a bit let down. But not to worry, the real fun starts here. Have you ever been to the Pewter City Museum? It's a nice place, very educational. I give it a 6 out of 6 on the Pory scale. It's here that we can see 2 of the coolest sprites in the entire game, Fossil Aerodactyl and Fossil Kabutops. And these are programmed into the game like half-baked Pokemon. They have sprites and index numbers, but a lot of the necessary data is missing. So let's give our bird-loving amigo one of these. Birdman sends out Fossil Kabutops, and amazingly, the game seems to be fine. This is technically a Missingno, as we can see from its name, but it is a little different from the classic Missingno that we know and love. Where usually we'd be subjected to Water Gun and Sky Attack, this one seems quite happy growling at us, and it also comes with Scratch. We can defeat it as usual, and the battle continues as if nothing happened at all. I don't know whether to be impressed or disappointed. Okay, what if we give our bird-centered tough guy no Pokemon to use at all? Here we finally get to see some glitchy behaviour, as despite having no Pokemon, he digs deep and sends out a poisoned apostrophe M with a lot of HP. Or perhaps it's asleep, it's really hard to tell. I decide to try and defeat it to see if the game will continue as usual, but after a couple of attacks, the game freezes and that's the end of that. Now, aside from the 2 fossils I showed earlier, there is actually one other half-baked Pokemon that I guarantee you've seen before. I am of course talking about Ghost, and although I have the Sylph Scope, it looks like we're just gonna fight like this. It's interesting that its attacks seem to come from Ghastly, which is either an incredible coincidence or... no, who am I kidding? There's no way that's a coincidence. And since I was using Sword Stance to allow Ghost to attack, Dux ends up taking itself out in confusion. Next, I tried putting Missingno into his party, but this didn't work since Missingno is just the display name. And to cut a long story short, it doesn't work like that. But what we can do is to replace the Pokemon name with the number 31, which is the index number of the first of the 39 Missingnos in the game. This works perfectly. In fact, I'm frankly shocked at how stable this Missingno battle is. And this is almost certainly the same sort of Missingno that appears on Cinnabar Island. If its use of Sky Attack doesn't have you convinced, just look how many Toxic TMs I have in slot number 6. What on earth am I going to do with all these? Now we know we can enter index numbers instead of Pokemon names, we can try some numbers over 190, which is where the non-Missinglo glitch Pokemon live. Which is where the non-Missinglo, which is where the other glitch Pokemon live. You know, the non-Missingno ones? And this gives very different results depending on the index number. Index 191 results in an A, although the game freezes up pretty much straight away. Index 192 is A's younger sibling, A, which appears to crash the game, but actually it's just running slow. I'm actually able to defeat this, and then apart from Dux's missing midsection, I'm able to complete the battle without any trouble. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the different index numbers, but here are a few that I found particularly enjoyable. 194 has a really nice, sprite, and it uses agility on repeat, so I think I'll call it Racing Stripe. 220 has a really top-notch sprite, like really good design. Solid 6 out of 6 on the Pory scale. The Pory scale, helping consumers since 1426. 218 uses Metronome, a move that, like me, is fun in small doses. And 228 has the colour palette of Fuchsia City, which is actually really nice on a glitchy square. It has a bit of a Nintendo Switch feel to it. In contrast, 230, or J-Dash, is a very cool monochrome kind of guy that uses Double Slap. According to Bulbapedia, it does not evolve. If we go all the way up to 255, hey, it's Apostrophe M again! How have you been? And finally, the abomination that is 224. Seriously, Game Freak, what were you guys thinking? After defeating the Birdkeeper with his disturbing Glitchmon, I decide to go and check out the Hall of Fame, cause that's always fun. And hey look, it's my hand! My actual hand as photographed on a Game Boy camera. I think it's trying to tell us something. And if you love bridges, oh boy do I have the perfect video for you. And as always, I'd like to wish you a wonderful day, and I look forward to welcoming you back to another video soon. For now, bye!